So believe it or not, someone has tried to join these fittings together using silicone. No PTFE, no washers, just a whole bunch of silicone. So this video is going to be a little bit different. I thought I'd do a video of the day in the life of a gas engineer. I know there's a few apprentices out there or people who are looking to get into gas and they're just curious to know what jobs they might go to. So I thought I'd show you those few jobs that I do go to. So the first one is that gas leak that I just briefly showed you. Came to the property to do a gas safety check, and immediately on the tightness test I could see there was quite a big gas leak. So just done a few basic checks, checked the boiler, checked the hob, and there was a leak coming from the hob. And at first I thought maybe they didn't tighten the compressions properly, but then looking a little bit closer I noticed that everything was absolutely covered in silicone. And I thought, right, okay, this is a bit strange. So surprisingly, a few of the connections that were covered in silicone were actually okay. They weren't leaking. This one was fine, it wasn't leaking, and the elbow that goes into the hob wasn't leaking as well. It was just that initial video that I showed you with the hob connection that had no PTFE, no washer. They just tried to use silicone. So I cut all of it out and redone it, and that was that job sorted, but don't know who ever done that. So for this next job, we're working on a Vaillant, and the customer complained of having a leak from the boiler. So a bit hard to see, but there's a small stream of water coming from that return pipe. What's happened is the condense pipe has split, and it's made the condense water leak onto that return pipe. And because that water is a bit acidic, it's caused that pipe to split, as you can see there. So I changed the condense hose and the return pipe and made sure they weren't touching, and that was that job done. So for this next job, we're working on a poorly installed boiler. So there's a few things wrong. The first thing is the condense. They've ran it in overflow pipe, which is not the greatest. Flue is way too long and it has not been cemented at all. So the issue with this condense pipe is it's not actually going to a drain. So it was backing up and causing the boiler to flood with condensed water. As a result, the boiler wasn't working anymore. It would blow every time you would try to turn it on. So I had to try to figure out what was blowing, why it wasn't working. So I took all of the electrical connections out and just worked backwards. Cut a long story short, and going through a few fuses, it was the fan that was faulty. So because it was still under warranty, called out Baxi and they came out and changed the fan. Once they'd done that, then I came back to sort out the flue and also run a new condense route. So the options for the condense weren't really the greatest. There was no local drain, so I had to run it across the kitchen and into the drainage, which doesn't look the greatest, but it's what the landlord was happy to do. So a nice condense pump fitted there, and that is the condense sorted. So shouldn't have any issues with the boiler backing up now. I'll probably post a whole separate video on my site on how to wire a condense pump, but they're pretty simple. So next was the flue. Pretty simple, just pulled it out, cut it down, cemented it. Just need to pop the collar on, and that is the flue sorted. All of this condense pipe now can just get cut out, and I'll just silicone that hole and cement the old hole. So funny enough, working on this next job, which is another boiler repair for a main Eco Compact, and they're having issues with the PRV leaking. So 2 screws underneath the boiler there, pull the case forwards, and you can see the PRV pretty much straight away, so you can take that flap off. So any boiler repair I do, I always charge the expansion vessel, because if you don't, then for some reason water constantly keeps coming. So charge that before I took out the PRV. Changing the PRV on these are super simple. You usually just got one nut there, which you twist up. Now usually with washers, I always try to take them out and put them to the side so I don't lose them and they don't drop randomly. But this one just seemed to be super glued down. So I thought, fine, they're gonna stay. I've got a few spare in my bag anyway, so I just left it. Next, you just got a screw at the top, which you need to just loosen. Don't need to take out all the way. And once you've done that, the PRV should be able to pull out straight towards you. So here you get a glimpse of me being weak and not being able to pull it out. It takes me a few seconds to get it out. So I quickly just pop it back in because I haven't got the other PRV ready yet and I don't want too much water to leave the boiler. So get that one ready and quickly swap them over. And that's it. Put everything back in reverse. That's that job done. So for this next job, I'm just supposed to be wiring up a Nest thermostat. And I'm there just taking my time, being happy, wiring. Next thing I hear, help! I think, what? Help, water's coming. So I run downstairs and there's an electrician and he somehow put a screw into a water pipe, and somehow it's my job to hold the water while he finds a stopcock, so I get absolutely drenched. So that was the hole he put, and thank God for slip couplings because it would have been a nightmare without it, but that was that sorted and the Nest sorted. So we've got F75 fault on this Vaillant. I've got a whole separate video on how to diagnose this, but essentially what's happening here is the pressure sensor is blocked. So when the pump is spinning, it can't detect the pump is spinning and it's not allowing the boiler to go on to the next sequence. So later on in this, I find out that the pump's actually leaking anyway, so I changed the pump. But in this, we'll be changing the pump and also the pressure sensor. So first things first, gonna drain down the boiler. So another indication that the water pressure sensor is blocked as well is if it's still saying there's pressure in the boiler, which it is, it's saying there's 1 bar, but the boiler's finished draining, then you can tell it's faulty. So again, always charge your expansion vessel before you're doing a repair. So the pump is super easy to change on this, just 4 screws, and if it's a bit tight and you can't really twist your Allen key, what you can do is put it long ways, and then if you want to initially crack it, just use a little spanner and you'll see. I'm about to show you anyway. So you can see the little water stain right there, just above the black bit, and that is where the pump was leaking from. So that's it, new pump's in, just need to put the electrical connections in, and that is the pump taken care of. So again, changing the water pressure sensor on these are super simple, just take off the air inlet pipe. And that black thing right there is the water pressure sensor. So usually when I'm doing this, I'd use 2 hands, one to ping out the clip and the second hand to catch the clip. But because I'm filming, I don't have my second hand, unfortunately. But they give you a new clip anyway, so it doesn't matter if you lose it. So I've popped the new one in now, getting 0.0, which we should be getting. And now to have to fill up, make sure there's no leaks, and that should be this boiler sorted. So I filled the pressure to 1.5 now, and when the pump spins, the pressure changes from 1.5 to 1.9. So now the water pressure sensor can detect the pump is spinning, and the boiler is working all good. So in this video, working on another Vaillant, and what's happened is someone has put this condense into the rainwater, but I don't actually think this goes to a drain. Don't know where it goes to, but what's happened is there's been heavy rainfall and it's flooded the boiler inside, water inside the fan, the gas valve. So it's my job to strip it all down and get all the water out. So the fault code that this boiler is given is F28. So like any other F28, first thing I'm doing is seeing if I've got a drop on the gas valve and seeing if the sparks are sparking. So as you can see here, the gas valve is opening. We are getting a drop, but it's just not working properly due to water being in the gas valve, burner and fan. Isolate the gas, sparks working perfectly fine, roughly the right distance. So yeah, time to start getting water out of the boiler. So this is the state of the heat exchanger, and you can see everything is absolutely drenched. So at first I thought I might just be able to shake the burner, fan, get it out, but then I realised I'm going to have to strip it all apart. So at this point, put everything back together, spent ages drying it, getting all the water out, service heat exchanger, change the padding inside, and moment of truth of whether the boiler's going to work or not. There we go, all good. I checked the emissions after this, it's all good. Now I just have to sort out the condense. So taking a look internally, there is a washing machine right here. So all I need to do is just try put it into there somehow. So off to the shop, get some bits, and the condense got sorted as well. So working on another Vaillant, got F28 again, but this time it actually is the gas valve. Gas valve isn't working properly, so I'll show you what I did to diagnose that. On another note, you can see what the customers tried to do themselves to fix the boiler. So a lot of customers know the reason boilers don't work sometimes is there not being pressure in the boiler. So what some customers will do is, regardless of how much pressure the boiler has, they just put more and more and more pressure in until it just gets to about 3 bar, thinking it's going to fix it. And I just had to explain to them, unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. Putting more pressure in doesn't mean you'll automatically fix the boiler. So I'll be changing the gas valve, the PRV, charging the expansion vessel, and I think I'll also change the AAV in this one as well. So taking a look inside, I can see the automatic air vent has been leaking for quite a while as well, so I do end up changing that. So I've got my U gauge on the gas valve. I'm going to test to see if the gas valve is opening. If I'm getting a drop, it's opening. If I'm not getting a drop, it's not opening. And tested it a few times, as you can see, no drop. So gas valve is faulty on this one. So first thing I did was my drop test, of course. Once that was all fine, then I start taking the gas valve apart. So that's all the nuts done and the electrical connections. Now if you look, there's just a tiny little screw there. Use my Allen key, take that off, and then the gas valve should just slide off to the left. So just doing everything in reverse order. The new gas valve is back in, and I'm about to test to see if it works. There we are, all sorted. Now I need to sort out that AAV and PRV. AAV, really simple. Just put a flathead screwdriver in, kind of lever it towards you, and this pin should just pop forward. Then you can just use, again, the flathead and just pry the AAV out. So a bit of silicone grease so it slips in easy. And that's the AAV sorted. Clips back in. Didn't record the PLV because I had to go shop, but I won't come back and do it. but that boiler sorted. So the next job is a quick plumbing job for my friend who lives around the corner. So they recently had a cylinder installed and this shower started leaking. So they said they didn't need it no more because they put great pressure on the mixer below. So it was just a thing of capping it off. Literally 2-minute job, 2 flexis, 2 compressions. All I have to do is isolate the water and put caps on them. So I thought I'd bring out my little blue bag for this one because it's literally perfect. It will slide in that little slot there and catch any water that drops. And that's it. That's them 2 capped off. He can use his normal mixer now and no more leaky shower. So last job I'm going to show you is another poorly installed boiler. So this boiler was installed in the loft and for some reason they thought not going to run the condense, just going to let it drip on the side of the house. So in terms of what I'm going to do is I'll show you. I'll draw a little red line. It's just bring the condense down, run it along, and there is a drain there on the rear of the house. The customer didn't want anything run internally. He wanted it all external, so that was the best route for them. But this is a job I planned and I'm probably going to go back and do next week. But if you like this type of video of day in the life of a gas engineer, just let me know and I'll try to post more. Or if there's anything else you want to see, just put it in the comments and I'll try to make videos based around that.